Hi everybody, it's Pastor Rich for Conversations on Race. It's been a strange little day. I'm a little early today, so if you're coming at 7, you'll just see the post. But it's been a strange day. We had to cancel outdoor worship because we had too much water where we set up, and you can't really have electrical stuff or even our FM transmitter. So I hope you worship with us on Facebook or on our YouTube page today. It was a strange day, but it got a little stranger when I got home. Bonnie, my wife, had some muscle spasms or something in her face, and we had to go to North Memorial, so had her there for quite a while and come home. We really don't know anything, but she's feeling better, and we'll see her doctor tomorrow. So keep Bonnie, my wife, in your prayers. We'd appreciate that at my house. But conversation on race today, I just want to talk to you about two things that happened in our news. It's one of the things that we've got to start getting better at as we deal with race in our culture, is we've got to talk together about things that happen. Two of them, one we'll talk about second, is the folks in Mankato that walked into a Walmart with a face mask on. Great, we all should be wearing them, but theirs had a Nazi insignia on it. We'll talk about that second. The second thing I want to talk about, which will be first today, is Ilhan Omar. AOC, there we go, the Congresswoman from New York. If you see the news this week, she is a woman of color. She's young. She is brash. She is progressive. I always say when people ask me in Minnesota how progressive she is, I say she makes Hubert Humphrey look like a conservative. She's a Democratic socialist. I think she's a follower of Bernie Sanders. Don't hold me to that. But another congressman approached her with his finger in her face like this, shouting and screaming, and then he used the F word and the B word at her, or to a reporter, or something like that. And then kind of an apology that wasn't an apology, but the Congresswoman then came out and just told everybody what was said. Folks, I think we not only have a race problem here, we have a sexism problem here. And every woman watching this today can tell you that some man at some time is talking to her that way. We, and I'm talking to the white men in the crowd, we have to stand up and tell people it's not okay. It's just not okay to talk to anybody like that, especially over political disagreements. Did you know in this country it is okay to be the opposition, to stand up against somebody else, to vote differently, to stridently believe in beliefs that the exact opposite of yours? That's why my heroes as politicians, and I've said this before to you, George McGovern and Robert Dole, they were senators on the opposite sides of the political spectrum, and they were friends. And they were also people who worked very hard on a goal. They wanted every child in the world to have one free meal a day. Who'd have thunk that? And they fought on the floor of the U.S. Senate like cats and dogs. They went at each other. And yet they didn't degrade each other. They didn't use racial slurs. No. They worked hard for what they believed in, and they worked together on the things that they agreed on. But today, our politics, our leadership, it's just nasty. And we attack people, especially we think it's okay of people of color. It's just wrong. It's just wrong, and I think it's time we learn something from this young Congresswoman. It's not okay to talk to anyone the way that congressman talked. It's okay in this country to disagree. It is what makes us who we are. And so, yeah, that's just one example of how we're not doing things very well today. The other thing is happened here in our great state of Minnesota. You know, the governor passed the mask law, and we're all supposed to wear them starting Saturday. I had my own experience. I was driving across. I had to help my number 2 son move, him and his wife, and we did that, and I wore a mask, and I was walking into a gas station across the great state of Minnesota, and somebody was just coming out of the gas station saying it's fascism, and they're coming to get our guns. I don't even know what he's talking about, but he thinks wearing a mask is just going to ruin society, when all it really does is save the other person. You don't wear them for yourself to protect yourself, you wear them for the other. But If you saw the paper today or any of social media or news, in Mankato, a couple walked into a Walmart and they had face masks on. Yay! But theirs had the insignia of the Nazis on it. What do you think they were trying to say? Yeah, it's free speech, but it's also hate speech. What I thought about when I saw it is I've done a couple funerals at Berkeley United Methodist, some of the last World War II veterans. I remember sitting with some of these men and hearing their stories of how they helped to end fascism in this world. How their buddies gave up their lives. How they barely made it home, standing up against that symbol these two people in Mankato wore on their face masks. I do not know how you honor those veterans who won't be with us much longer by wearing that insignia. But that's really not why they wore it. They weren't thinking of our World War II vets. They were trying to send people of color a message of hate. They wouldn't say they're white supremacists, but that's what that symbol means. And I struggle because I believe this. I think they have every right in the world to wear that. But we have every right in the world to stand up against it. It is just wrong. And that's why systemic racism is such a problem in our country. It is why we are struggling so much to talk to each other when two people can walk into a Walmart with the Nazi insignia on their face mask. Make no mistake about it, they're trying to tell our brothers and sisters of color to be afraid, to be scared. That's not what America is about, is it? Like I said before, it's been a strange day. That's why Conversations on Race is posted today. But keep my wife Bonnie in your prayers. She went to the emergency room today. She's fine. Ruled out a stroke, ruled off palsy. They don't quite know what it was, and so we're going to go home to our doctor tomorrow and try to figure this out. But keep her in her prayers, and hopefully the muscles will stop contracting on her today. But what I ask you to do is have some conversation about symbols. A lot of talk in our country about statues and symbols. I had the thing happen, I think I've told you before. I was here at a gas station in Brooklyn Center and a pickup pulled up and had Confederate flags on the back. And you know me, I gotta say something, so I asked the guy, why do you have those? He said, heritage, I love my heritage. So I asked him where he's from. Born and raised in St. Cloud. I didn't have the heart to even tell him, that's not your heritage. Your ancestors from Minnesota fought on the other side of that war. He had those flags on to tell people of color a message. Don't lie about it. That's what he was doing. It's the same thing that couple that walked into the Walmart were doing. They're trying to tell our brothers and sisters of color, you're not wanted here, that you are subhuman, that you should be afraid of people like me. So folks, have a conversation with the people around you about symbols and what they mean. And remember a symbol that we treasure in our faith, the cross. Because Jesus did not die for hate. Jesus died so that we would be saved and learn to love God and love neighbor no matter what. That's what it's all about. So challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to deal with symbols, to talk about them and what they mean. What they mean. And whether they represent us as a people. Okay? Have that conversation. Also have the conversation about our leadership and our politicians, about how they talk to each other. Guys, we need to change the language on how we respect women. There's just no way about it. What that Congressman Yoho did was wrong. And he just stands up. One of the things I am proud of, have you heard for Bread for the World? United Methodist has supported them for years. They work to feed people all over the world, and they had this congressman who spoke so badly of AOC on their board, and they asked him to resign, and he did. Good. You shouldn't be on a Christian board if you're going to talk to women that way. if you're going to treat people of color that way. Maybe he'll learn something from this, and I know what Bread for the World will do. They'll do the Christian thing. They'll invite him back. And they'll put him to work for what is good. That's what it's all about. So that's why we're having these conversations. They're hard, aren't they? They're uncomfortable. And we all need to have them. It's like my daughter put out a Black Lives Matter street sign out on our yard. Boy, has it started conversations. My neighbors are, well, some of them are afraid, and some of them are proud, and some of them are questioning. And they asked me, why'd you put it on there, one asks, so that we would have this conversation. We cannot be afraid of having tough conversations around sexism and racism. If we don't have the conversations, and if we don't get uncomfortable, then we're in trouble. And if you notice, I didn't say how to vote or that I supported AOC or anything. No, it's how we treat each other, even those we disagree with. That's important. All right, folks, that's your job. Have some conversations about symbols, about racism, about sexism. And don't be afraid to get uncomfortable. But I also want you to do something else. Then draw on your faith, folks. Use what your faith teaches you. And then together we'll move on. Now, here's the other thing about Conversations Race. We're going to take a 3-week break. I'm going on vacation. I am taking my son Foster as his graduation present. We have been planning this for years. We are taking an Amtrak ride to Glacier National Park, and we're getting off at a resort that our hotel room is a BNSF, and if you don't know what that is, you don't know much about trains. But our hotel room is a old BNSF engine that has been redone into a bedroom and a bathroom, and we're going to have a great time. And so him and I are going to take off, and then I'm going to do a few projects around my own house, and I'll be back in 3 weeks. Pastor Henry will have you covered. So we'll start this again in 3 weeks. We'll have some more Conversation Race. I'll get back. The person that was going to talk tonight got called into work at the hospital, and so we were going to talk about COVID-19 and race and how it is affecting our brothers and sisters of color more than anybody else. But she got called into the hospital to work tonight, so that got canceled. So I'm coming early to you. So thank you for all the people here that were praying for Bonnie. She is doing okay. And so we'll see her doctor tomorrow. It's just a confusing day. So I'm going to go be dad and husband and take care of her and get the kids ready and get them fed. So I wanted to go a little early tonight. All right, here's your task. Have a conversation about race and sexism today. Get uncomfortable and rely on your faith. May God be with you in that conversation. Good night, y'all.